So moving on to the next pick, we have a little bit of DFW talent here. Colleyville Heritage versus Midlothian. Both teams have had pretty good years. Midlothian pounded Forney earlier this season, and Forney's really starting to win some games. So Kenny, who do you have in this game?
Well, I'm kind of mixed on this one a little bit. I think I'm gonna go with Heritage on this by Schmidt. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout by any stretch of the means here. I like Heritage's offense still. They've got great skill positions, and Isaac Shabay is one of the most underrated players in the area. I think that he's kind of an offensive bailout guy. I call. Just get him the ball if it's third and you got 3rd and 8, and you got a kind of a trick play or whatever. He's going to be the guy that's going to get it for you. But I think it's going to be a close game. Midlothian's played extremely well. I think they played better here down the last 3 or 4 weeks also. So this is one of those where you'll pick up the paper the next day, and I think the game's going to be a lot closer than people anticipated. I'll go with Heritage.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna take the Panthers. They played Trinity not too long ago, and when I saw the score, it was kind of a blowout. And then I refreshed it about 30, 45 minutes later, and Heritage made a game out of it. They made a good comeback. Unfortunately, they lost, but I think that speaks volume about a team. Just showing that you don't give up, especially when you're going against someone like Trinity, Ollie Gordon. But they've got some weapons. Hogan Wasson, Dylan McKinney, another great defensive back, Oklahoma State commit. So I think they're going to pull it out. They're at home. And like we've been talking about, when you're at home, it just gives these kids a little bit of a boost. So it'll be a close game for sure. Midlothian, I've watched them last year. This year they've had pretty good season. So it'll be a good game. I think one to keep an eye out for. But Panthers, I think, pull it off.
Yeah, they run the ball a lot. Barely throw the ball. Run that wing T offense. So you have to do your job to stop that. And I think Colleyville Heritage, they'll really key in on that in practice. And I'm going to take Colleyville Heritage, but I do think it's going to be close because Midlothian, they play teams tough. They're not afraid of competition. And sometimes they have some tricks up their sleeves. Sometimes they'll air it out and you won't expect them to. And so I think they can use that to their advantage, but they have to get Diego Benson going in that running game early because that can keep the defense guessing because you can pull up and throw a pass. So I think that's going to be the key, but I'm going to go with Colleyville Heritage. It's going to be a close game, though. I think that's going to be a really good ball game. And so moving on to the next pick, Birdville versus Burleson Centennial. This is an interesting, intriguing matchup to me. Both teams have been a little bit of up and down this season, but it's a really important game.
Yeah, we picked in the Star Telegram. I think we have Burleson against Burleson Centennial a couple of weeks back earlier on that as one of the picks. I'm going to go with Birdville on this one. I've always had a soft spot for Birdville for whatever reason. I don't know why, so I can't explain it. But again, I believe you said Birdville was at home, correct, on this one? Or is it at Burleson?
It is at Burleson. Burleson Centennial is the home team.
It is the home team. With Birdville, that district to me, it seems like they're all kind of stacked together a little bit, not especially in the middle there. There's not much difference between one to the other over there. So again, I think this is going to be one of those highly competitive game. And I can see this being a high scoring game, one of those 42-35 type jobs, going in. I can see it being that way. So I'm going to take Birdville. If it's considered an upset, I'm not sure if it is. I'm not sure. I don't know if it is an upset, but who knows? Doesn't matter. Birdville.
Yeah, so this is one of those games when, old school high school football, just these two teams, no shade, but they don't really have any big stars out there. It's just a bunch of high school boys playing together as a team. And sometimes that's the best football you want to see. I have kind of kept up with Birdville a little bit. They've had a rough season. Centennial has as well, but with it being a home game, I think I'm going to agree with Kenny. It's going to be a close game. Just some backyard football, I think, but I'm going to take Burleson Centennial this week. You said 42-35. I'll go with 47-38.
All right.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll write it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Burleson Centennial in this game. I like what they do running the ball. They're another team that runs the wing T. You have to play 3 different plays within one. You have to play for that pitch. You have to play for the quarterback keep, and you have to play for that dive up the middle. So I think it's going to be hard for Birdville to keep up with because there's so many moving bodies going in every which direction. And I got to watch them play week 1 against Prosper Rock Hill, and they came back and won that game. And Prosper Rock Hill, they played a lot of teams close this year. They're a really good football team. They're not a shabby team. So I think with that win and just seeing what I've seen from them, I think they'll beat Birdville in a high scoring game. I'll say 47-42. I'll make it a little higher in the scoring department. So moving on to this next one, we have some Louisville ISD schools, Flower Mound versus Hebron in this game. And this is an intriguing matchup to me. Hebron really needs to win. Flower Mound's coming off that phenomenal win. Do they ride the high, or does Hebron get this one?
Well, to me, it all depends on if Mr. Evers is back or not, is going to be playing this week or not. But anyway, the backup quarterback did more than an admirable job last week and beating Flower Mound Marcus. I'm going to go with the Marauders on this game. Hebron just having a tough time scoring this year. Dakota Bridges has played extremely well in his limited touches this year, but they just can't get sevens. And, in this day and age of playing high school football, you need to have sevens. Field goals just do not cut it anymore. And they've just really struggled from jump on the offensive side of the football. And we just thought because Geyer had a great defense opening week was the reason why they didn't play well. It's continued, the last 3 games after that fact. So I'm going to go with the Marauders to kind of shake off that an emotional high of last week and get their second district win.
Jaguars.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry, it's Jaguars.
Yes, Flower Mound.
Jaguars. I did that again, didn't I?
Yeah. No,
I
this
did that on Channel 8 once too.
Oh boy. No, this is I actually wrote this one down as a game to kind of keep out for. Hebron, I'm just going to cut it straight. Their schedule was their first 2 games sucked. You won against Geyer and Martin. They got beat up pretty bad. They are 1-3. I don't know who was their win against. Does anyone know?
Last week.
Yeah.
Because they were 0-3 going into.
I'm not sure who they won that game against.
I'll get it.
But while he's looking that up, I'm going to take Flower Mound. I think Nico, I'm not 100% sure about his injury. I don't know if it's critical or not, but the kid's got a heart to play football. I think if it's something minor, he's going to tell the coach I can do it. And if not, the backup quarterback showed poise against Flower Mound Marcus. And I think that showed a lot about this team. And it's at Flower Mound. They got a good little fan base out there. And we've been talking about the home field advantage. I think Jaguars pull it off this week. But Hebron's going to give them a good fight. Don't get me wrong.
They played Plano East last week. They won 29-18. That's what it was. I was thinking it was Plano.
There we go. So, no, it's good to come off a win if you're Hebron. But Flower Mound, like I said, I think Nico is going to play. And if he does, good luck.
Yeah.
Definitely. Was that a district game, Kenny, or was that
Yes.
non-district?
Yeah,
It was district.
Yeah.
So Hebron, they start off District 1-0. That's huge. And so they'll be looking. This is a swing game as well. Flower Mound versus Hebron, 2 teams that could make a difference in the playoffs. I'm going to go with the Jaguars. I think they'll come out. I think they could either 2 things can happen. They'll come out flat because we know they had a very emotional win against the Marauders, or they'll come out and dominate. And I think they're going to be focused. Even without Evers, I think they can come out and the backup quarterback. They just need to run the ball, have a balanced attack, put their quarterback in good position if Evers isn't playing, and I think they can get it done. And I'll pick the Jaguars in this game over Hebron. They just haven't got the ball to Dakota Bridges like you would want them to. You have to get the ball to your playmakers, and like Kenny said, they just have not been able to get it in his hands. And I think that's something they need to focus on this week if they're going to beat Flower Mound. And so this next game, Richardson versus Irving. I wanted to get this one in here. Two teams, up and down years for sure. Kenny, who do you have in this game?
Well, I want to say congratulations, Irving, getting off the schneid, breaking that losing streak of 34 games a couple of weeks back. You don't want anybody to endure 3 years of straight 0-10s. That's just brutal. So I'm going to give them props on that for sure. I'm going to go with Richardson Eagles, and I'm only going to tell you this reason why, because I know their offensive coordinator. And I don't want to pick against them. I'm going to go with the Eagles, but this is one of those games that's going to be highly competitive. Neither team is more overly talented than any other. This is kind of one of those this is kind of filler in that district. I mean, obviously, I think Jesuit's the class of that district, and everybody else is going to probably be fighting. Well, I shouldn't say that. Lake Highlands is pretty good in that district too. But it's I think that this is a game that gives you a shot at getting the playoffs, though. Whoever wins this game here, I think, has a shot at that 4th spot in the playoffs. And you have the head-to-head, and if you tie them on the other side. So I'm going to go with the Richardson Eagles to win. Oh, I'd say 24-17.
I like it. This is one of those games kind of like the Centennial versus Birdville. It's just two schools that just, no big stars, just basically backyard football. And it's just two teams that have struggled, but still play with a lot of heart. I know the coaching staffs, they tell these kids, do not look at the past, just look at what the future is. But Irving, with that tough history of losing, I just don't think they're there yet. Hopefully they turn that program around. And when they do, it'll be exciting to see. But I'm going to take Richardson. You said 24-17, I think 27-14. I think it'll be a little bigger victory, but like I said, if you're wanting to just watch some good football, you don't want to watch any big shows or big stars, this is a game to kind of go check out and just go enjoy a Friday night.
Yep.
Definitely. I got to see Irvin play earlier this season against Pascal, and that was a really close game against Fort Worth. Pascal was really highly contested. They look much improved. They almost won that game, and they almost came back and won. They lost that 30-27. And so, Richardson, I look at Richardson as a team, they're even to what Pascal was and is, I think, just based off of the offensive attack, both really good offenses. I think I'm going to go with Richardson in this game, though. Although I do think Irving will give them a competitive one. I think it'll be 28-24. I think Irving will hang tight. But like Chase said, it's going to be a competitive matchup. Games like this, they're always fun to watch just because those teams really play hard. And sometimes, it's really enjoyable to watch teams play hard. So it's going to be an interesting game for sure.
I think you make a great point there because they're pretty two, let's say, mediocre football teams, but they look at each other's rosters and say they're not better than us. So you're going to get a loaded effort from both sides of the football on this game. So that's the reason why I think it'll be super competitive for that standpoint alone. So my buddy Andy Todd, offensive coordinator, I did not pick against you. So I won't give you any motivation. But yeah, I think it's going to be really competitive.
Definitely. In our last pick'em of the week, Mesquite versus Rockwall. Rockwall's coming off that loss. Mesquite is much improved this season. Kenny, who do you have winning this game?
I'm going to go with Rockwall. I mean, I think that Rockwall is going to lose 3 straight games here at this point now. I do believe that, it may be one of these where you see the score early and you don't see that Rockwall's got a big lead and you're going to be shocked. it has to take some steam out of you losing to your crosstown rivals the way you did last week. You just can't shake that off in 24 hours. I know coaches tried to do all kinds of different things this week to get their attention, but I think that this is the perfect opponent that comes into town for them this week when they play against Rockwall. Rockwall's offense, we've already talked about it ad nauseum about how great they are. But this is the time to change. I just don't think the Mesquite's got the horses up front to slow them down. And Mesquite cannot afford to get into a shootout with Rockwall. So I will go with Rockwall in this game.
Yeah, no, I'm going to take Rockwall as well. I can tell you right now, they are mad. Lost to a Highland Park team, and we all know about last week. Rockwall can tell you that they should be undefeated. They should have won these past 2 games. And like Kenny said, I don't think they're going to lose 3 straight. Another thing is we have to consider weather. It looks like it's going to rain. Now, I know it's a crazy thing to think, but you don't run the ball a lot when it's raining. They're going to be throwing the ball, and they just happen to have a quarterback named Braden Locke, who is one of the best quarterbacks. So I think he's going to shine. I think him and Noble Johnson are going to get back with that connection they had 2-3 weeks ago. And I'm going to take the Yellow Jackets. And I think they're going to get a big victory this week. I think they're going to show the any haters out there that they're for real, and they'll make some noise down the road.
Yeah, they definitely didn't play an easy schedule when you look at these first 4 or 5 games. And I think that may be to the fact that before the playoffs, they're not going to play anybody that's overly competitive. So I think that's a good job on the coach to, get them to play some teams like Lake Travis, Highland Park, Rockwall Heath back-to-back weeks. So that's a really tough schedule. And I think they're just going to come out really focused. They ran for over 260 yards last week as well. So yeah. I think they can get that going. And that helps the balance of Braden Locke throwing the ball and spreading it to those receivers. So I think they win big against Mesquite, especially they're angry, like Chase said, and I think they'll come out and take it out on Mesquite. Although Mesquite is much improved, I like what they've done with that program this year. I just don't think they have enough to compete with Rockwall this week. And so moving on from that, that'll conclude the pick'ems. But I wanted to get to a topic. Evan Stewart, number 1 receiver in the country, chooses to forgo the rest of his senior year. And Kenny, what are your thoughts on this situation?
I will preface this first by saying I'm just going to stick to the information that's been told to us, via whatever channels, that basically he is, going to stop playing to concentrate on his career at the college level next year. I know that they got a hamstring injury involved in that also during that time. So basically, he is training, for the next level. I do understand the fact of trying to protect yourself, and trying to protect your investment in yourself, and the NIL has changed some of those things, and I do understand that. My problem is that you have a 5-0 football team that you quit on in the middle of the season. That to me is not understandable to me at all. If we're going to go by what's been said publicly, the reason why he's not on the team. I just don't think you can either quit on your teammates, the guys that you've done so much work with in the summer, do all that blood, sweat, the whole shooting match, and you've got Liberty in a situation when they've never been 5-0 before. These guys, your teammates thinking about deep run in the playoffs, and you kind of get the rug pulled from underneath you because your number 1 player, your best player in your team now is no longer going to be on your team. You don't replace an Evan Stewart on the football field. You just can't. And I mean, there's, I feel bad for the person that's going to be the backup that has to go and line up in his spot next week, because I mean, you're not going to be able to match that production that he's had. I mean, he's been a highlight reel every week. So, I feel bad for that football team. I mean, my heart goes out to those guys because, that's a tough lick, to have. I mean, if he's injured, you move on. You cry and you mope the one day, and you next man up. In this situation, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's really next man up. It's, man, he quit on us. So, I hate that. I hate that he kind of goes out, his senior year that way. That's a bad thing because, I mean, nobody worked any harder than that guy did this past off season. Nobody did. And I mean, he shot up the rankings because of the hard work he put in. I mean, so obviously he's got work ethic, and obviously he's not a quitter. So, it's just, you hate that, but sometimes you get bad advice. Sometimes things don't work out the way it's supposed to be. That's part of life. It's a life lesson that you can learn. He's an adolescent, as I said earlier, still a juvenile. I mean, we all made decisions at 17 and 18 and 19 that we regretted. Heck, I'd make them at 53 and 54. So, I mean, and I hope that he look back at this one day and say, you know what, I should have stuck it out. I hope that that's what he comes to his conclusion one day down there. And I hope that, he can mend some fences, that, seems to be, some bridges seem to be burned in that aspect over there. Time heals all wounds, but I wish him the best because it's been, a year and a half of highlight reels covering him and watching him in camps and 7-on-7s and the whole shooting match. And he's a pleasure to watch in the football field. And we're going to be robbed of that for at least 6 games now.
Yeah, no. I mean, when I heard about it, I'll be honest. Personally, I was a little frustrated because, like I was telling y'all, I was gonna go watch him later in about 3-4 weeks, and now it looks like I'm not gonna be able to. And I mean, this is not like you kind of mentioned. It's not just another receiver. I mean, this is a once in a. I mean, not gonna say lifetime, but we might not see another talent like this for a while, and it's frustrating. We saw Quinn, his decision a couple months ago. Emeka last week is now enrolled early. So this whole thing with the NIL has changed the game. I think it's good and it's bad. But like you said, I mean, just personally, I mean, 25, I look back at high school and I enjoyed every moment. I'm glad I didn't. There's some things I wish I did and I didn't, but that's the beauty of life. But for him to make this decision, I mean, we all have to respect it, but it's tough. Like you said, I mean, he's gonna look back and you're not gonna get to play with these guys ever again. And like you said, Liberty's 5-0. I mean, we don't know what they would do down the road, but he's definitely a player that could easily lead this team deep in a playoff run. I kind of look at it as if you're taking Tyreek Hill away from the Chiefs. I mean, he's that special, and he can change a game in just one play. So it's tough to see this happen. Like I said, we don't know the full detail, but from what we're going off of, it's a good luck to him. I mean, next level, wherever he plays at, he is going to be a baller. He's going to be fun to watch. But just off what's going on right now, I'm a little upset that
Sure.
it's yeah. And like I said, I hope the best to him, and whatever he does, good luck to him. But this Liberty team, hopefully the coaching staff will get these players in a meeting and just tell them keep their heads up. It's tough though, because when you're in high school, you go to school together. We all know how kids talk, and so it's a little more hard for these guys at a young level. They're still trying to mature, and so hopefully that team can just keep their heads up. They've got a tough game this week against Frisco, and they just need to just play for each other and just play like he's obviously he's not going to be there, but football's a team sport, so make sure that they remember that, play as a team. And good luck to the Redhawks and Evan Stewart.
Definitely, I wish nothing but the best to him and success in the future. I do think it's a different situation than Quinn Ewers, but Quinn, he made a decision before the season, before it started. Emeka had an injury. I understood that as well, and Evan Stewart. It was reported that part of the reason may have been the hamstring injury. So I think for Evan, it's just the middle of the season for me. If you're going to make a decision like that, I think before the season, you do that because I think it kind of blindsides the coaches a bit. It blindsides your team. And like Kenny said, this is a 5-0 football team. They're playing some really good football, and that's their best player. Obviously, they've won 2 or 3 games without him this season. Keldrick Luster's looked phenomenal at the quarterback position, playing really good football for them. So, I think as a leader, Keldrick's going to talk to his guys this week. I think the coaches will have them ready to play, but just think it's the middle of the season. If I was a teammate of his, I would feel a little. I would be upset about it. I understand. It's ultimately his decision to make, and everything's different with the NIL rules. But I think that's just a decision that he came to. Um, and there's a lot going on in his head. He's 17 years old, like Kenny said, and it's a big decision to make at that young age. I just think you look back on it 10, 15 years from now. I think Liberty does still have a chance to make some noise in the playoffs, even without him. But it's going to be hard to capture some of that offensive magic they've been displaying with Evan Stewart. But it's just mid-season. I just wish if he was going to make the decision, he would have made it before the season started, like Quinn. I think all 3 situations that have happened with this are very different from each other. I think Emeka's, that was different from what Quinn's was. It was mid-season as well, but he wasn't going to play the rest of the year, so he decided to go up to Seattle and Washington and do his rehab there. And I have nothing but respect for those guys, and wish them nothing but the best.
Well said.
And one last note, Kenny, go ahead and talk about what games you'll be at this week and what to expect from them.
Thursday night, like we mentioned it earlier, I'll be at the Keller South Lake Carroll game Thursday night at Keller. Looking forward to that. It's been a while since I've been out there. I think the last time I was out there, but South Lake Carroll played at Fossil Ridge, and that was a mismatch on a Thursday night. But on Friday night, I'm kind of looking forward to it. I always try to go to a game at Jesuit every year, and I got Jesuit and Lake Highlands. Speaking of that district we talked about a little bit earlier, I think this will be the biggest test for Jesuit in that district going forward. They have Lake Highlands coming in their backyard, and Jesuit's got really 3 really good players on their team, and they've got, I call the Jim Thorpe of high school football around here, and Robert Fitzgerald. Looking forward to seeing him live again. We've covered a lot of his events and things and games in the past. So looking forward to going out to there because I'll tell you this, Jesuit's media relations department is by far the best in the area, bar none. I sent a media request Saturday morning, and within a minute it was approved. That's on a Saturday morning. So, I mean, they're just top notch at Jesuit. So, and it's not too far from the house. So at least I'm getting a decent night this time. Because the last 2 games I've been getting home at about midnight, it seems like. So it'll be fun. So those are the 2 games I'll be covering this week.
Yeah, so I'm actually off this week. Got some things happening, but beauty about it is I'm going to be able to keep up with all the other games. I actually might try to get a ticket to that South Lake Keller game just to see if the upset can happen. But I'll talk about real quick some of the games that are happening that if people want to keep an eye on, besides the ones we talked about. Prosper at Geyer. Geyer has been looking like they could go back to state, and Prosper coming off that tough loss. It could be a very interesting game. Then we got Argyle and Melissa, some 4A action that I covered them last year. Argyle, obviously, with their historic season, they kind of dominated, but Melissa, they're ranked for a reason, and I feel like they could actually give them a good fight. Another game, if you're in the Frisco area, just go buy a ticket. Liberty at Frisco. Of course, you're not going to get to watch Evan Stewart, but you are going to get to see how this team is without him. And I think that will be interesting to see and see how they do. And you also see the Raccoons, they got one of the, I would say, most interesting team names, Frisco Raccoons, but they're both undefeated teams, and it'll be that Frisco district area, they got some good football out there. So a lot of good games this week, though. Also, South Grand Prairie at Martin over at Globe Life, one of my favorite stadiums just to be at. So, yeah, I'm off this week from covering, but definitely not going to be off from watching. So, yeah, it'll be a good week, though.
For sure. And, I'm excited about this week. I get to Thursday night, get to make the trip to McKinney ISD Stadium. They always treat me well there as well, always have good food. They print a stat sheet up for you at halftime. It's always really helpful with that. And as well as West Mesquite, I'm looking forward to see what they could do against McKinney North. And Friday night, for the Dallas Morning News, I'll just be freelancing. I got Grapevine versus Polytechnic. I'm expecting that to be a one-sided game, but I'm really excited about that. And then Saturday, I may do a 11 o'clock game, Fort Worth Southwest at Barrington with Peyton, possibly. I'm looking forward to that. I'll possibly be doing that with Peyton. So just looking forward to a great week of high school football. It's going to be another great week. And so that's going to be all the time we have for episode 6 of the We Got You Covered podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube of Friday Night Glory, and stay tuned to Twitter as well for updates on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and as well as our blogger, where we'll have articles on the weekend. And we're hoping to get the website back up.
Who writes that blogger?
What's up?
Who writes that blogger?
Yeah, we have the updates. We've been trying to keep up with that. I'll be writing some more updates to try to get all the scores from 6A and 5A, and I'll try to compile all of those over the weekend. And it's another great week. Thank you for joining me, Kenny and Chase. This is episode 6, signing out, and we'll be back next week. And hopefully our picks go a little better than last week.
Yeah, I hope so. By the way, Garland ISD, you're for real.
Yeah, definitely.
Some more of that crow. I had to put a little salt and pepper on a little bit about the owls.
I told y'all.
Garland Owls definitely have been special this season. Sergio Perez and Jordan Hudson, a great combination with each other.
Yes,
Still
sir.
South Dakota is the only one, huh?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's really crazy that that's the only school right now.
All right.
That's going to be episode 6. We'll be back next week. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.